Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's video. My name is Angel DeSantis. I am going to review a therapy in this video. And I know that a lot of you have mentioned that you wanted to see my review on types of therapies that I've done. I've done a lot of therapy. That's what happens when you grow up in a religious, abusive cult. You have to go to therapy. And I know that a lot of us here are really interested in the recovery process, and bravo to us, first of all. And I just want to offer my personal experience. Again, that's all I can offer. I'm not a mental health professional, but I want to offer how it has felt for me going through this therapy. This therapy is called CIMBS. And when I first heard it, I thought of the computer game. And I was like, how is that therapeutic? It's not that. It's CIMBS. And it stands for, hold on please, let me look at my computer. It stands for Complex Integration of Multiple Brain Systems. And it's an innovative psychotherapy paradigm that understands the client's potentials and difficulties from a systems perspective. And then what it does is it assesses relationship and attachment patterns, and then you kind of activate different multiple brain systems, and then it gives you like a container to process it. And I'm going to link this article below because it explains things a lot better than I just did. But I want to give you a personal perspective of having gone through CIMBS therapy, because I feel like it has been a really useful, really useful therapy for me. And I just want to explain why I think that, and kind of pitfalls of therapy, and also encourage you on your therapy journey, kind of give you what to look for and my perspective on why therapy is useful. So I think that's it. I think that's the intro. Please click like and subscribe. I always forget that. And I do have a religious trauma course, which I will link below. I think that's it for housekeeping. But let me look at my notes. So the first thing that CIMBS does, CIMBS, is it finds out like what your patterns are, your relationship and attachment patterns. And so the first few times with my therapist, he was trying to figure out like what my trauma was, and then he figured it out, I swear, because when he invited me to start doing CIMBS and he kind of broke down this whole therapy for me, I was like, yes, I'm interested, let's do it. And then he went, okay, great. And then because he had learned all my patterning and conditioning and he knew what my triggers were, the next thing that he said was, okay, cool, are you ready? And I was like, yes, I'm ready. And he said, great. Now I'm just gonna sit here with you and I'm just gonna pay loving attention to you. And I was like, what the? Like, it made me angry that he said that. But then he was like, when I say that to you, what happens? And I was like, first of all, you're lying. Let's start there. Secondly, like, what the hell do you mean you're here to pay loving attention to me? Like, fuck you. You know, thirdly, and I just like, all of that came up. And that was kind of the point, is that he learned how my systems work, and then he learned kind of what to say in order to like trigger that, but he did so in a way that I knew that I was in a safe container to manage that. And up until that point, he had made me feel really safe, so that when all of this stuff came crashing out in this reaction to the thing that he had said, I felt safe enough to express that to him. And then we were able to process the reaction, because the reaction to things shows you where your trauma is. And I think that's a really important thing to notice. So when people are triggered, it's the trauma reacting, right? So I think it's really important always to look at your reaction of things. And I think what therapy did for me was give me a safe container to process this stuff in. So I didn't feel bad being like, well, first of all, you're lying. Like, that was my immediate reaction to him when he said he was here to pay loving attention to me. I was like, first of all, that's not a thing. Like, loving attention is not a thing. Like, love and attention is a horrible thing. And that was the trauma. Like, that was me outing myself because he had found, I guess, the system that he needed to hack, and well done. But I think the container, I think therapy provides a really beautiful container. And this is why when people say like, oh, I don't really feel good with my therapist, I tell them to get a different therapist. Because what you are looking for is a safe container that you can process your emotions in. You want to be able to process your reactions in real time, because after all of that comes up, and I told him that he was probably lying and all this stuff, then he was like, right now, how do you feel? And then we kind of talked about how I felt in that moment. And in that moment, I felt fine because I knew this person, I felt safe with this person, and I knew I could process stuff with this person. So he was able to kind of bring me back and kind of ground me back into this present moment. And through that practice of being able to react in a safe container, then I was able to let everything come up, and then you can look at it, and then from a safe place you can decide to process it and kind of figure out where it comes from a place of observance rather than just reaction. So CIMBS has been really, really useful for me, and I will also link my therapist below. I'll link his whole stuff. But CIMBS has been really useful for me because of that, because it gives me a safe place to react. And then the offering that he does is the perfect trigger for me because it makes me really angry. And again, anger is a lid. So if I immediately get angry, I know that like, all right, this is covering something, but let me work myself through the anger and express why I'm angry, knowing that I can do that in a safe place where I don't mean to harm my therapist and he means to hold space for me, but neither of us want to hurt each other. And I think that that's a really useful thing to look for, because what I find when I speak to people about starting their therapy journey, what I find sometimes is that people are looking for someone to rage against with no concern for how the other person receives it. And it can kind of be that thing of like, well, I'm paying this person, so they're not allowed to be fully human. They need to sit here and take all of my shit, and if they can't, they're a bad therapist. And if they can't sit here and like, I just need to abuse them, and then when I'm done, they need to help fix me. And if they can't do that, then they're a bad therapist. And what that says to me is that's the reaction, right? This person saying all of this is their reaction to having someone that they are paying to care for them. And maybe that's their anger reaction, that they couldn't find anyone to care for them until they paid them. So now that they're paying someone, now this person deserves all of the anger and rage and shit from everyone else that has treated them badly. And that tells me that this person who is telling me all of this lacks a lot of empathy and has been through a lot of pain. And sometimes the pain is so great that it masks your ability to feel empathy. So if you are that person, or any of that resonated with you, of feeling like, well, no therapist understands me, and if they can't fix me, why the hell am I going to them? I think it's important to kind of reassess what you believe therapy to be, because therapy should be a safe container for you to show your reactions honestly and to be able to work through your reaction. So you let the reaction come up, and then you, in a safe place, work through it. And the safe space doesn't mean it's just safe for you. It means it's safe for everyone in that container. So if you start flooding the container and you're like, it's fine, I can swim, it's like, no, it needs to be safe for everyone in the container. You're not the only person in your life. You know, there are other people in your life, and every time you have an interaction, there was someone on the other end of that. And it's important that you recognize that. And before you walk into therapy, you understand that yes, therapy is for you, but there is someone on the other end of that, and that should be acknowledged. And you should have just as much care for them as they do for you. I don't mean that you know as much as them, or that even you're as capable of caring as them, but there should be from you a desire to care for this person who's caring for you. And that can start sort of an honor system of being able to honor the person who is honoring you. And I know that there's a lot there. There's a lot that can tend to come up when you start your therapy journey, and especially when you start CIMBS. But I have done a lot of different therapies. I have tried EMDR, I've tried talk therapy, I've tried, the rage therapy, all of that. But CIMBS for me has been the most effective because of the safe container, the triggering words in a safe container where we can let my reaction come up. We can go through the reaction together, and we can remind me that I'm in a safe place. So I recommend CIMBS because it has worked for me. Doesn't mean it'll work for you. Try a bunch of therapies, but what I have seen consistently over the course of the last few years is doing this sort of therapy has been incredibly helpful, not just for me showing my not so healthy brain patterns, but also because my nervous system understands that it's in a safe place. And I think that that's twofold. So even if something comes up and you're able to process it logically, this is what I used to do. I can process things really well. I have thought algorithms in my head that make perfect sense. I take thoughts, I pull them apart. I can do that, but my nervous system would be just going off. My heart rate would be like 150 beats per minute because I was trying to think. And so CIMBS, I found the combination of what it does allows me to process stuff, allows me to think, but it also keeps my nervous system calm. So there are a lot of different ways to do therapy. There are a lot of different things that we have to go through. But if you haven't tried CIMBS, I would recommend trying it. Therapy isn't going to fix you, but the ability to process things in a safe space will allow you to uncover the wound and start to create a safe space for healing. So if you haven't started therapy yet, highly recommend it, because it's useful to understand that you can be safe with another human being. And that for me has been really important. My therapist has felt like a safe human being to communicate with. And because of that, when I start to share with other people, I now know what it's like to be in a safe place sharing with another human being. So my friendships have gotten a lot healthier because I now notice, do I feel safe telling this person this? And if not, then maybe I shouldn't tell it, or maybe this isn't the person to tell it to. But what I have noticed is when I'm able to share with somebody and I'm calm, I'm like, ooh, this is what it's like to have a healthy relationship. It's that I can say something and honor the other person and be grateful that they are honoring me in return by reciprocating. I offer them something and they take it into a safe container. And we both feel good, we both feel appreciated, we both are calm, and we can move forward that way. So I hope that this is useful information. I did see all of your comments on the community board for the interviews that I'm going to do about purity culture. And again, if you have questions or anything, pop over to the community board. I do look at that. And I'm going to put something up there for this. So if you want me to review other therapies, or you want to share therapies that you have found really helpful, or if you have questions, anything like that, pop over to the community board. I think you can find it if you go to my channel, there should be a community page that you click and it'll pop down, I assume. I don't know YouTube that well yet, but we're getting to know each other. But in all of this, thank you for being here. I know that this isn't easy, and it can feel like you're just finding out new ways that you're flawed. But that's not what you're finding out. If it feels that way, then I understand it, but that kind of outs the idea that if there's something that's not perfect, it's a flaw, which outs black and white thinking, which is the whole thing. But thank you for being here. I hope that you are finding some sort of way to enjoy the journey, because I know that this isn't such great things to do on a Tuesday, but it does enrich and enhance the rest of your life. And being able to look at something that is dark and feels painful and being able to work through that will allow you to see the light a lot better. Things don't get worse as you address them. They only get better. So I hope that this is helpful in helping you to look at that stuff. And I hope that you continue to feel better in this journey. So thank you all. I'll see you next time.